Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something really special for vintage RC fans, the Tamiya Frog from 1983.
Oh yeah, an absolute icon.
Truly, it defined RC for a whole generation. But as much as people loved it, it had this infamous weak spot, didn't it?
It really did. That rear drivetrain, it was the Frog's Achilles heel, and honestly, dealing with it was almost part of the experience back then.
Right, and that weakness kind of opened the door for other companies.
Exactly. It fueled this whole aftermarket hop-up scene. Companies like Parma International, they really specialized in fixing these kinds of problems.
And they came up with a specific fix for the Frog.
They did. Their hashtag 12110 aluminum rear hubs, they called it the Positive Drive System. And it was a really clever piece of engineering aimed right at that core drivetrain flaw.
It's interesting, too, because Tamiya themselves eventually changed it, right?
When they re-released the Frog in 2005, they totally redesigned the drivetrain. It was almost like a quiet nod, confirming how necessary those aftermarket fixes like Parma's really were.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive. Figure out what exactly was wrong with the original, how Parma's Positive Drive fixed it so well, and why this little aluminum part is such a big deal for collectors now.
Sounds good.
So let's start with the stock 83 Frog. What was going on with that original drivetrain? How did it work or not work?
Well, the setup itself was pretty straightforward on the surface. You had the motor power going to the half shafts, the axles.
Okay.
And the ends of those axles were shaped like hexagons. They were made of this relatively soft die-cast metal.
Soft metal, okay. And where did they connect?
Those hex ends slotted into matching hexagonal holes in the wheel adapters, which were these white plastic parts. The whole thing basically relied on the friction between the hex shaft and the plastic adapter to turn the wheels.
Friction fit. I can already see where this might be going.
Yep, that was the inherent flaw. The main problem was those hexagonal drive shafts just rounding off. The metal was just too soft for the twisting force, the torsional stress. Especially if you put in a hotter, modified motor or, landed jumps hard, which everyone did with the Frog.
Right, that's what it was built for.
Exactly. And you had this material mismatch, soft metal axle, harder plastic adapter. The metal hex would start to round out, then it would slip inside the plastic hex.
Stripping both parts pretty quickly, I bet.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Well, very rapidly. And then, bam, total loss of drive. It wasn't really a matter of if it would happen, but when. Super frustrating.
Wow. So before Parma came along with these hubs, were people just stuck or trying their own fixes?
People definitely tried things, DIY solutions.
Yeah.
But for a really reliable permanent fix,
Yeah.
the aftermarket was where it was at. And Parma, they were a major player. They really knew how to identify and solve these weak points in popular kits.
So they saw the Frogs issue and jumped in. What made their hashtag 12110 hubs the answer?
Well, first off, the material. They were precision machined from high-grade aluminum, much tougher than the stock setup.
Okay, so better material. What about the design?
It was completely different. They ditched the whole hex idea. The Parma part was a cylindrical aluminum hub. It had a hole drilled right through it crossways and another little threaded hole for a set screw.
And the kit came with?
2 of those hubs, naturally, plus 2 hardened steel drive pins and the 2 little set screws.
So how did it create that positive drive?
The genius was abandoning the friction fit hex entirely. Instead, they created a mechanical lock. The steel pin physically connected the axle to the hub. That's the positive part. No slip possible. It's a mechanically interlocked system, totally different from relying on the hex shape.
Okay, so installation wasn't just swapping parts. You mentioned needing different axles.
Right, that's crucial. You had to toss the original Frog hex shafts. They were the problem. You needed to get different rear axles, ones designed for a pin drive.
Like from other Tamiya kits.
Exactly. The ones from the Tamiya Blackfoot or the Monster Beetle were the common choice. Those axles were round, with a hole through the end.
Ah, so the Parma hub slides over that round axle.
Precisely. Then the hardened steel pin goes through the hole in the Parma hub and the hole in the axle shaft.
Locking them together.
Yep. And then the little set screw tightens down onto a flat spot on the axle just to make absolutely sure nothing moves side to side.
Got it. So the power goes from the solid axle through the strong steel pin directly into that tough aluminum hub.
Nailed it. 0 chance of rounding off, 0 chance of stripping. Torque transfer was direct and secure. It just worked. Problem solved permanently.
That must have been a night and day difference for Frog owners. What was the impact on performance?
Oh, huge. Immediately, you had massively increased drivetrain durability. People could finally confidently put much more powerful modified motors in their Frogs without instantly shredding the drivetrain.
I bet. Does that still hold true today for restorations?
Absolutely. People restoring frogs now, they seek these out because it even lets them run mild brushless motor systems without worry, things the original could never, ever handle.
Wow. Beyond just strength, did it feel different to drive?
Definitely. You got better efficiency because none of that motor power was being lost to slop or potential slipping. It felt more direct, maybe crisper acceleration, and the reliability was just unparalleled compared to stock. It became a true fit and forget part. You installed it, and that problem was gone forever. You could just focus on driving.
So for you listening, especially if you appreciate these kinds of elegant engineering fixes, the Parma #12110 is really special. It's not just about making it faster, is it?
Not at all. For collectors today, finding these hubs is often about building the ultimate period-correct hopped-up frog. It's about enhancing the car, using parts that were actually available back in the day.
While fixing its biggest flaw, but keeping that vintage look and feel.
Exactly. It preserves the aesthetic, but banishes the original mechanical headache.
Which explains why they're so hard to find now.
Oh, definitely. They've been out of production for decades. Finding a set still in the original packaging, new old stock, or NOS, is pretty rare. They pop up on auction sites, but they command high prices. For serious frog collectors, it's often called a grail part.
So these little Parma hubs, they're really more than just bits of aluminum, aren't they? They kind of tell a whole story.
They absolutely do. A story of, an iconic but flawed product, and the ingenuity that sprung up out of necessity to fix it. Engineering driven by the users.
Yeah, innovation from the ground up.
And it really represents that whole restomodding idea, perfectly making a classic better, more usable, without losing what made it special in the first place.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What does a simple, effective part like this tell us about the lasting value of smart engineering? Something designed so wide it can breathe new life into a beloved classic even decades later. Something to ponder.